Have you ever stopped to think about how the economic machine we all live in actually operates day to day? I mean, we all buy things, we all work, right? But how do these moving parts actually interlock to keep society functioning? Well, welcome to our explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the absolute foundation of our economy. We'll look at the vital engines of production, how money and resources literally flow between us and businesses, and how we categorize the incredibly diverse range of work happening all around us. Okay, let's dive right into this micro to macro roadmap. First up, we'll define a firm. Then we'll explore the producer's dual role, map out the circular flow of income, and finally, classify the different types of producers in our world.
All right, Section 1, defining the firm. Let's start with the foundational building block of our entire economic ecosystem.
Now, we often hear the word business thrown around pretty casually, right? But in economics, a firm is a highly specific unit. By definition, a firm, or a producer, is a particular unit producing a commodity or service with a view to earn profit by combining factors of production. It's essentially an entity totally focused on the activity of creating value. Think of it as the ultimate organizer in our economy.
Let's break that definition down just a bit more. You see, a firm isn't just a physical building. It's an active organizer. It takes factors of production, we're talking land, labor, and capital, and combines them. But here's the absolutely crucial part. The firm acts as the basic decision maker. A firm decides where to put the plant, the quantity and quality of the commodity to produce, and exactly which factors of production to employ. So, whether it's a tiny single proprietorship, a partnership, or a massive joint stock company, the firm is the entity calling the shots on production, all to earn a profit.
Moving on to Section 2, the producer's dual role. So we know what a firm is. Now let's look at how it operates in the real world, because it definitely doesn't exist in a vacuum. It interacts directly with you, the household.
And this brilliantly illustrates what we call the firm's dual role. On one hand, firms produce and sell various goods and services to consumers in exchange for money. This happens in the product market. It's exactly what you experience when you go buy groceries or pick up a new phone. But, and here's the kicker, on the exact same day, that firm is doing the total opposite in the factor market. They are actually purchasing different factor services from households, like your labor, by paying factor prices such as wages, interest, and rent. So they're sellers in one market, but buyers in another.
Section 3, the circular flow of income. This dual role we just talked about, it isn't just a quirky little fact. It literally creates the continuous engine of exchange that sustains our whole society.
So the crucial point is, we need to trace the money here. In the product market, households, that's you and me, purchase goods and services from firms. We pay prices for these commodities, which means our expenditure flows directly into the firms as their income. But wait a second, where did we get that money? Down in the factor market, those same firms purchase factor services from us. They pay us wages, interest, and rent. So the expenditure incurred by the firms flows right back as income to the households. It's a massive loop.
What we've just mapped out is an exchange relationship that establishes a continuous circular flow of income and expenditure in a society. Money flows from you to the firm at the store, and then from the firm right back to you in your paycheck. It's this mutually beneficial, never-ending loop between households and firms that serves as the vital economic heartbeat, keeping everything running.
All right, on to Section 4, classifying producers. Now that we understand the firm engine and that circular flow of money, let's zoom out a bit. We need to categorize all the wildly different types of producers making up this economy. We generally classify them into three main categories.
The first category is primary producers. These are the folks who create goods by directly exploiting natural resources. This is the absolute origin point of the economy, right here. They create primary goods, forming the vital base for literally all other products we consume. To make this concrete, just think about the origins of our resources. We're talking about a farmer cultivating the field to grow food crops, a milkman milking a cow, fishermen catching fish, or cattle rearing. Even a gardener looking after his garden. These are all classic primary activities. If you focus on the top row of this visual breakdown, you can really anchor this concept. You see the farmer out in the field, the milkman at work, the gardener. They are directly interacting with the earth, land, water, animals. The goods they produce are natural products, basically the bedrock of the entire economic system.
Let's move on and see how this builds into our next category, secondary producers. These are producers engaged in the production of manufactured or finished goods across various types of industries.
They don't extract the raw materials themselves. Instead, they take those primary products we just talked about and transform them into entirely new forms through the magic of manufacturing.
Think about how this looks in everyday practice. It's a baker taking raw wheat and making biscuits, transforming a primary good into something new. It's a weaver spinning yarn and weaving cloth from raw cotton fibers, or a tailor taking that cloth and crafting garments.
Moving down to the middle row here, you can clearly see these secondary producers in action. There's the baker, surrounded by trays of fresh biscuits, the weaver operating the loom, the tailor focused on those garments. Whether this is happening in a massive, sprawling factory, a small workshop, or even at home, this industrial sector is all about converting nature's yield into finished, manufactured goods.
Finally, we reach the third sector, tertiary producers. Now, this sector is a whole different ballgame because it doesn't produce physical goods at all. Instead, tertiary producers provide crucial support to the primary and secondary sectors through various services. They are the essential service network that allows the rest of the economy to function smoothly.
Think about it. Goods produced in factories or on farms, they need to be transported, stored, marketed, and sold. The producers themselves need banking and insurance to survive. So tertiary producers include someone like a doctor examining a patient, but they also include massive transportation networks like Indian Railways or Air India, as well as trade professionals like car dealers.
Now, what's really fascinating about this final category is the sheer contrast. Looking at the bottom here on the left, you have a single doctor examining an individual patient, a highly personal, one-on-one service. But right next to it, you have a massive train from Indian Railways and then an airplane from Air India. It brilliantly illustrates how a sole practitioner and a giant national transportation grid both fit perfectly into the exact same tertiary producer framework. They're both providing the services that keep that circular flow moving.
So, we've broken down the firm, seen its dual role, mapped the circular flow of income, and classified producers from the farmers all the way up to the airlines. Which leaves me with a question for you to ponder. When you go to work tomorrow, entering the factor market to supply your labor for wages, will you be providing your services to a primary, secondary, or tertiary producer? Understanding exactly where you sit in this vast, continuous circular flow of income kind of changes how you see the world around you, doesn't it? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.